Hello, everybody, and welcome to episode 166 of the world's longest tenured Denver Nuggets spin-off podcast. Welcome to the Denver Nuggets' Serbian Corner. My name is Miroslav, and before we begin, please take a moment to like the video on YouTube, and if you haven't already, subscribe to the DNVR Sports YouTube channel and DNVR Nuggets podcast channel. The audio version is ideal for your commute or to make your office or home office time more bearable. If you want to support the show more directly, you can become a Patreon supporter at patreon.com/MiroslavCuk, just like my Seco tier supporters Peter Plummer, Daniel Lynch, and Brian Johnson. Patreon supporters can enjoy the ad-free audio version of this show. They can also submit ideas for guests and topics and appear on the show during the summer. Week 4 of the NBA season is in the books. The Nuggets started by playing in Sacramento. The good guys were in the single-digit lead in the first quarter, but spilled it during the first bench stint. When the starters came back, they took control of the game back, but couldn't expand it to double digits. That's when the early fourth quarter series started with Joker on the bench. Jamal Murray and Bruce Brown had 10 points apiece in the final frame. Overall, Joker had another monster performance, this time with 35 points on 16 of 19 shooting. He did not have a triple-dozen, not even a triple-double, because he ended up with just 7 assists, even though he had 22 potential assists. Jamal was scoring in bunches, especially in the fourth quarter stint, but it felt like he was playing 1-on-5 at times, not really in the flow of offense. Still, you have to appreciate the ISO brilliance he has shown. The rest of the starters had decent games, but Cam Johnson continues to struggle to find his shot and make it when eventually did. Bruce and Valanciunas were good off the bench, even though Jonas had missed what felt like a metric ton of close shots in the first half. The next day was the second night of a back-to-back against the Clippers. Hours before the game, we found out Bradley Beal was out for the remainder of the season due to surgery on his hip. Kawhi also missed this game, presumably due to Serbian flu, and this game was influenced by injuries to Cam Johnson, who looked like he hurt his hand and went straight to the locker room, and Christian Brown, who appeared to hurt his ankle when James Harden ran him over in the first half. The other significant moment was Jokić having a very uninspired fourth quarter with just 3 points. But luckily, he had 52 points in the first 3 quarters on 91% true shooting. So the Nuggets got their 6th straight win. Jamal had an inefficient night, just 15 points on 16 shots, but he did make some circus ones. The Hardaway and Jonas Valanciunas were impressive off the bench, so Joker recorded his 50th first 50-plus points game win. Yes, they've lost all the previous 4 such games. Last night, the Nuggets traveled to Minneapolis. A day before the game, we found out Christian's injury will keep him out of the action for at least 6 weeks. Cam Johnson was also out of the game, so Tim Hardaway Jr. and Peyton Watson slid in. It was a complete team effort with all the starters shining in different times and different aspects of the game. Peyton Watson caused a very inefficient night from Anthony Edwards, and Tim Hardaway scored 23 points on 8 shots. Oh my God. Jamal Murray needed 22 shots for 23 points, but he also had 12 assists and 6 rebounds. Aaron Gordon had 23 and 10, but much bigger than that was his plus 33 in 35 minutes. Nikola had a weirdly inefficient game, shooting just 53% from the field and having only 27, 12, and 11 with 2 steals and 6 turnovers. On the other side, Rudy Gobert had an efficient minus 22 in 23 minutes, and Bones Highland was the most stylish player, showing he can make an impact even without a second on the court. Let's not forget that the Nuggets are now on a 7-win streak. Okay, my guest for today is probably the smartest Nuggets fan among figure skating aficionados. She is the host of a very analytical and detail-stuffed podcast called What's in a Game, together with another friend of the show, Will Jones. From an undisclosed location in California, it's Grace Jean. Welcome back to the show, Grace.
Thanks, Miroslav. I don't like to brag, but I think I will claim smartest Nuggets fan among figure skating aficionados. I think I'm willing to go that far.
So I don't know much about figure skating, but I reckon the Winter Olympics are coming pretty soon, right?
They
So
sure
it must
are.
be an exciting time in figure skating world.
It is, and actually, the reason that I asked for this episode to be moved back is because we've got Skate America, which is one of the Grand Prix events happening this weekend, and the first event of today is in about an hour with the free dance and ice dance. But yeah, it's very competitive. There's a lot of jockeying for position because at each competition this season, it's not just about, winning or like trying to get on the podium and medal at the competition. It's, are you beating the your teammates from your home country at this competition? Are your scores higher than theirs because you're trying to make your country's Olympic team over them as well? And so there's a lot of competitions within each competition as well that really makes Olympic seasons in particular very compelling.
Excellent, excellent. I need to watch Blades of Glory again because that's the closest I ever came to figure skating. Welcome to the family, to Patrick Crow, who just became the new member of the DNVR Sports YouTube whatever it's called family. Welcome, Patrick. So let's start with last night's game. The Nuggets no longer fear the Timberwolves. Yes, they have won that first game without Anthony Edwards, but this time Minnesota was at their full strength and played at home, but the Nuggets found a way to win again, and in a pretty comfortable fashion in the end. Who stood out to you the most last night?
Who stood out the most? Oh, that's a great question. I think...
Yeah,
I know. The player that stood out the most to me last night was Payton Watson, because the player that stood out to me the most negatively on the Timberwolves was Anthony Edwards.
Yep.
I thought Peyton Watson's defense, Peyton stood out for both positive and negative reasons. I will say defensively, I thought he was stellar throughout the night. A couple sequences here and there, could have done a little differently, but by the standard of this team, he was very clearly the best / most impactful defender on the floor last night. I will also say, especially in that first half, Aaron Gordon, for the exact same reason, stood out very positively in this matchup, and I thought I was surprised when the box score did finally come out and we were winning AG's minutes by 33, but it definitely felt like the minutes that he was on the floor were a lot better than the minutes he was off the floor, even when Jokić was on. I just didn't think it was by that margin.
Yeah, it's crazy, and honestly, I'm not sure we can trust that plus minus, considering how long it took for them to publish it. It reminded me of Eurobasket, where you just cannot trust the plus minus column of the.
Or in figure skating, when the skaters are sitting waiting for their scores, when the judges take an extra long time to get them out, you're like, oh god, they're fudging some stuff back there.
Yeah, I'm gonna regret mentioning figure skating at the beginning of the show. Okay, so yeah, I agree with you. Payton Watson was really stellar on defense, and I'm really shocked how naturally defense comes to him. I don't think he learned stuff he is doing. He has an innate nature on defense. He just has the nose where the ball is going to go,
yeah.
and the perfect way he's going to challenge certain shots.
I will say I completely agree. I think the defensive playmaking comes with a lot of natural talent and instinct. But one of the things I do want to give Payton credit for improving skill-wise through work and reps over the last couple of seasons is especially his one-on-one fundamentals are so much better than his first or second year, even last year. And I'll just say last year he was really, really good in flashes, but it's about a sustained stretch. And, we're only 12 games into the season now. So it's still about can he keep this up? But he's not biting on fakes, all that kind of stuff. But it's just he's able to stay with guys on drives. Now, occasionally he will get blown by and rely on his athleticism to, to recover and contest or block a shot for sure. But he's way less reliant on that now. And that has been the most consistently improved thing about his defense this season, I will say. The other thing, and we got a couple of examples of that last night, even though he was only credited with one block, but throughout the season, he's done a really good job of keeping the ball inbounds when he blocks a shot and not having really, I can't think of an instance of one of these really uncontrolled, like out of bounds swats, which are, still useful, but the other team gets the ball back, from an out of bounds and you go on. This season, like his blocks are often resulting in fast breaks for Denver.
Yeah, it's the one thing I hold against Dikembe Mutombo as one of the greatest defensive players, because not only that he didn't think about where the ball was going, he wasn't even looking at the ball. He was looking at the guy. He just blocked, which was a fun moment, but as well might be detriment to his team. But I digress. Other than Peyton on offensive side of the ball, we've seen such egalitarian offense in this game, and it's not that all five guys were moving in concert during the entirety of the game, but each of them had their 5 minutes of fame where they would just score in bunches and just it was just in different shifts, but in the end they just got to their usual 120 whatever number. Even though the game was pretty sloppy, we talked about it before the game. It was kind of a mess in the second and third quarter. I feel.
Yeah, absolutely. I thought honestly the Wolves were kind of a mess for pockets throughout the game, and I thought Denver was particularly sloppy in that second half, which is the half where they scored more points, which is funny. I did think Denver, after that first quarter where it was like we flubbed a lot of fast break opportunities, they were better about actually finishing those scoring possessions in transition largely. And I thought that was really important because until the fourth quarter, I was very concerned about how easy it seemed for the Wolves to stifle our offense in the half court. But in that fourth quarter, they were slowing things down and then able to get decent enough shots. Like we don't get like amazing shots against this Wolves team, even when it's like an open three. It's like a open under duress kind of shots. Second chance opportunities were big, especially in those bench minutes too. And like honestly, I thought that they got the offense in this game out of the mud. Like it was a lot of defense to offense, and second chance and that kind of stuff. So it was nice to see and that's what put points on the board. I wouldn't have called this an offensive game, which is funny because they did score 122, right?
Yeah, and Tim Hardaway had 23 points on like 8 shots or something.
Yeah.
Should we pay
free throws, technical free throws, all that stuff too?
Yes. Yeah, so should we pay him $25 million per year now?
Yes.
It seems like it's pretty nice to play
a
shooting guard next to Nikola Jokić in the starting lineup. Yeah, I really enjoyed Tim Hardaway's debut as a starter. And after the break, we are gonna talk a bit about whether he's gonna stay at the shooting guard position for a longer time. So don't go anywhere. Okay, so the Nuggets had to play without Christian and Cam last night, and while we don't know how long Cam will be out, I don't know if you've heard any news since
Vinny Benedetto, I think, said that he beat writer follows the Nuggets for the Denver Gazette. Anyway, he said he talked to a team source that said that Cam's going to be day-to-day, which is surprising because honestly, when you heard what the injuries were, like Christian ankle sprain, Cam left the game with an arm sprain. We didn't know it was a biceps. And once we find out it's a biceps too, I'm like, oh, wait, Christian's the one that's out longer.
Yeah, exactly.
That's not what I would have expected.
Yeah, I thought that would be the other way around. But we know that Christian is going to be out at least until Christmas. Were you surprised by Adelman removing his best bench scorer in Tim Hardaway from the bench to patch up the starting lineup, or does that feel logical since we are talking about the measure that will have to work for a quarter of a season or so?
I think for last night's game in particular, I was more surprised by Peyton starting. Even though, like, you'd think just looking at like the players that we have, he's like the obvious choice to fill in, because he's the guy you want to eventually, like, by the end of the season, you want him to be your sixth best player. But I thought it would be Spencer Jones because DA has said that he would like to kind of maintain continuity in the rotations that they've been playing. I'm glad that they went with Peyton last night in particular. I don't know if that's gonna continue, but because Christian's gonna be out longer, it's interesting because a lot of people point to like what's gonna happen to the defense in the starting lineup, starting unit. Christian's had his best defensive games have still been kind of mediocre, and for the most part, I don't think that he's been very good defensively to this point in the season. So but like offensively, he limits mistakes, which is big. Although his turnover rate is up this season, as he's trying to pass a little bit more and that kind of thing. But he limits mistakes certainly more than like a Payton Watson, for example. And he, for the most part, finishes plays when he gets the ball under the basket, or he gets the ball to Jokić. So the question is, are you trying to bolster the offense or the defense in the starting unit if, when Cam comes back? I would probably go with Peyton there, but I am worried about the back of forward minutes. You're already kind of like rolling the dice when you're running with Peyton Watson at the 4 in those, particularly in the non-Jokić minutes. Those can be very, very hit or miss. That unit, that backup unit has been feast or famine all season, because the defense doesn't really have any consistency. Like, they have to score. And so I don't know if that's just an opportunity, if this is just an opportunity to start Peyton, get him some more minutes, and then Adelman can okay, this hasn't been like the most consistent thing, although we've won some stints with this bench stretch, so maybe we can try something else. But like, I think it's going to be Peyton Watson moving forward, even after Cam comes back for that reason. I don't think it makes sense to try to overtax Tim Hardaway Jr. Also, you want to keep his very springy at this point veteran legs fresh throughout the season, and also keep that spark off the bench, because we did see in those minutes, particularly the first half, that unit was lacking another player that knew how to play basketball.
It is true, and this is why David Arman adjusted on the fly for the second stint. I thought it was really smart to have both Jamal and Aaron together on the court with Jonas, and then you get Tim Hardaway Jr., who is now basically a starter, and I believe Bruce Brown was playing together with them. That's a really strong lineup, which makes sense because Jamal with 4 bench guys hasn't worked stellarly so far. Surprise, surprise. But one thing that we are seeing here when the 2 guys are out, and it just doesn't matter if it's the starters or the other real guys. When you have 9 real guys and you lose 2 of them, now you're down to 7 real guys, and now a guy like Julian has to step in. Now a guy like Spencer Jones has to step in. And that's the bigger problem than the fact that they are missing the contribution from 2 of those guys. Now, I did not love the lineup with Joker and 3 defenders in Bruce and Peyton and Spencer Jones with Strother, because Strother was the shooter there who doesn't hit his shots.
But
so
also,
this is why that lineup didn't work.
That lineup wasn't good defensively either.
Yeah, exactly. That's big enough of a hole for them not to work well defensively. But then in the second stint, we got Tim Hardaway Jr. there in for Strother, and lo and behold, that unit worked really, really well. Which kind of units would you like to see now in these a couple of weeks coming up now that we know we don't have Christian there.
Yeah, it's really tough because you have depth until your depth moves up the depth chart, right? Honestly, I wouldn't have been shocked if they'd tried in the second half Jalen Pickett in place of Julian. Just like give us a few minutes of like don't bleed points as much as we did in that first stint kind of thing. I'm also just genuinely kind of concerned about these particular types of matchups against like good teams and those Jokic on non-Jamal stretches, like quote unquote no point guard looks, or like Bruce is the only ball like on ball guy in that lineup, but we're really just playing point Jokic. And we saw some of the issues with that in this game, like in this particular matchup where Jokic's getting pressured full court and he had 6 turnovers last night. Some of those were on like really ill-advised outlet passes because he's getting pressured, and he often makes good passes in that situation too. But the Wolves are a different caliber of team than Denver's played to this point. And so that's been a running concern of mine. I'm not saying Jalen Pickett's the answer. We saw in the Pacers game that he doesn't necessarily provide like the spark you need, but I'd still like to just like see a couple more reps of that, because we kind of need an answer in these types of matchups, and just to see if he can at least be like a mitigating factor in those minutes. I know I was listening to Locked On Nuggets last night, and Matt Moore said that a scout told him that the Nuggets have been sniffing around for a point guard. And so I think that
this is the question we got from a listener. Do you see a trade coming up for one last piece before the deadline?
I hope so. I would like to shore up as many of the weaknesses on this team as possible, because they're really strong and they have a real chance to, make a title run here. And there was a game, I'm trying to remember if it was I think it was the Clippers game. In the post game, Jokic came back in that fourth quarter after the bench kind of ran away with it, but then, we've seen that happen in other games, and then you leave them 1 minute too long and the whole thing is gone. So DA gets Jokic back in, and DA was asked about that post game, about putting Jokic back in, and he was like, yeah, they were pressuring us a lot. And Jamal had already played that entire quarter, and he ended up staying on the floor, but it was a lot of Jokic initiating from there. And DA said he wanted Jokic on the floor because he was one of their best ball handlers. He might be their second best ball handler in the rotation, and I don't love that.
Yeah.
I don't love that you have to put Jokic back in the game because you don't have someone that can reliably bring the ball up the floor. So those, I would like them to figure something out for those minutes. To answer your question about what lineups I would like to see, I would like to see lineups where somebody besides Jokic is handling the ball when Jamal is off the floor. I love what they've been able to do with the point Jokic looks, but I'd also just like them to be able to throw a different look in those lineups. One of the things that I noted very early on in the season is and maybe this has waned as the games have gone on, but we saw a lot of Peyton Watson running pick and roll with Jonas Valanciunas. And then whenever he was on the floor with Jokic, he's not touching the ball, which is fine, right? You're trying to win those minutes, but you're also trying to see what you've got in these guys and develop some variety and the actions you can run and that kind of thing. And so, and especially in lineups where you don't have great spacing, one of the, ways that you can mitigate that is involve your two worst or least respected shooters. Maybe Jokic is growing in his respect around the league in that sense, but you can have Peyton on the ball and then, see what you can do from there with other guys that are more respected as shooter spacing. Right?
I need to do better when I'm talking about Julian Strother. I need to hype him up because he is one of the pieces that could be used in a trade close to the trade deadline. I've already conceded the notion that the Nuggets are not going to do anything before the trade deadline unless they make some sort of trade that would not inflate their salary
Oh, yeah.
some
Yeah.
because they're trying to avoid tax this year completely. And
They're
I'm going to
trying to
tell you,
they need to reduce their salary if they're going to avoid the tax right now.
aren't they like just below salary?
They're just
Below?
above by 800K.
Just above. Oh,
Yeah.
okay. Oh, they're gonna do something then. Yeah,
Yeah.
we're gonna hate it.
Yeah.
I
Probably.
already conceding that's gonna happen, and I don't mind it honestly because they did some smart moves with getting Jonas and Cam Johnson for like 10 million fewer than Michael Porter was making. I think that was a smart move, but at the same time, if they try to escape aprons next season, I'm gonna burn them for it. Like I'm gonna be so loud about them being cheap during the Joker Prime. I get it. They want to reset the tax repeater tax thingy counter right now. I get it, but if they want to do it next season again, yeah, I'm going to be furious about it.
Yeah. I will say, I talked about this on the show a couple weeks ago when we got the news that they partially guaranteed part of Jonas's contract to basically push back the date that they have to decide. They're probably going to either waive him or trade him, but it gives them longer to find a trade once like free agency starts next summer. My interpretation of that move is that they won't necessarily be as cheap next year because you could be in a situation where you've partially guaranteed that $2 million and that's $2 million less than, and then you waive him because you couldn't find a trade. And every like little margin matters when you're trying to play under the tax or under the aprons. And so maybe like I could be very wrong about that, but I don't think you do that if your main objective next summer is going to be salary shedding. Yeah.
And when it comes to salaries, the biggest question they have this season is Payton Watson, who is about to become a restricted free agent next summer if he's still with the Nuggets, and he has signed with Klutch Sports, which is a move a player does when he wants to force his way out or to increase his negotiating potential, stuff like that. And not all the Klutch clients get paid. There were some situation when that wasn't the best move for the player. But my first thought was that if Peyton Watson stays with the Nuggets until the summer, we might get an eventful restricted free agency with him. And you seem to have a bit of a different view of it. Am I wrong?
No, I mean, it's not that I think it won't be eventful. Any restricted free agency is kind of eventful because you're in a situation where the team
you're getting news for sure.
Right, you're gonna get some kind of news, and it could take a while. Like it could be. You saw with Golden State, like they took the entire summer to figure out something with Jonathan Kuminga that resulted in him taking this 1+1 deal with a team option. I thought he completely lost that negotiation. I was like, wait, what? How did you not even get like a second guaranteed year here? But my interpretation of the news was like, okay, it's Klutch, sure. But I'm not surprised that he left his agency after a summer of negotiating with the team. Apparently, like widely reported that they were trying to get something done. And then ultimately that doesn't work out. There was this quote in the Denver Post from Bennett Durando that he got from Christian Braun after he got his extension. That was like, it's weird because it feels like you're fighting with people that you love and that and care about and whatever. And I think I remember like a similar quote is either from Christian or Peyton in like a different setting where they were like, it's almost like you're enemies during that span. And Peyton went through the same thing, but then didn't get the big contract on the other side of it. And I think Adam Mares has done a good job of sort of framing what it can be like to be on the other side of a summer like that without the contract versus with the contract, and everybody's happy and can walk away and be like, okay, that was ugly, but we're moving forward now. That's not to say that Peyton will definitely leave or like try to get traded at the deadline necessarily or anything like that. But it's like, okay, I want to change agencies because this was not a successful summer for me in terms of like getting guaranteed money on my second contract. The fact that it's Klutch, I don't know, like doesn't mean that much to me. That's a very popular agency. AG is a Klutch client, et cetera, et cetera. So it's more just like, okay, like a player changed agencies. It wasn't even like, this, big massive announcement. I think Vinny Benedetto like did, good reporting, and that he was like, oh, I see this on Klutch's, story. It wasn't like, this wasn't like a Shams thing. It wasn't like leaked to one of the newsbreakers. It was like Vinny saw, like it seemed like Vinny saw it on Instagram and reported it out. So I think that's different. If it comes from a newsbreaker, it's because somebody wants you to know. Right. Obviously, Klutch wants everyone to know they have a new client, which is why they report it out. But it wasn't like this, like, oh, Peyton means business now. So his team, like, which, I wouldn't have been shocked, like, oh, wow, by either. But I think that would have told me more about the situation than what happened, which is he changed agencies and they announced it.
Yeah. So we started the show by just talking about Peyton and his great contribution to the best win of the season so far.
Yeah.
And what happens if he stays on that trajectory, if he keeps getting better until the trade deadline? Should the Nuggets just keep him and use him as a piece on a championship run and risk losing him for nothing? Or just, trade him for another guy that's like maybe has a couple of seasons on his contract on, controlled value money? I just don't feel that would be a smart move to get like I don't know. I don't even know what the contracts are off the top of my head, like a Corey Kispert kind of guy for
right.
Payton Watson.
Kispert makes more now because he's already on his second contract.
Oh yeah, that's right. That's right. So it's like if you're just trying to not lose an asset, but at the same time become worse because the asset you got in return is just not as impactful as Peyton would be in this championship run.
Honestly, I think that Ben Wallace need to have a steely resolve here because, to be completely like honest, I just think this is a really, really shitty set of environmental circumstances for restricted free agents, and that's already restricted free agency already sucks, right? I know that more teams are currently set to have cap space next summer. You don't know what's going to happen after the trade deadline. The last trade deadline, actually the last two, have sort of been used as sort of pre-agency the last couple of years, where teams will take on like bigger money for either draft picks or whatever, or try to get like a close to all-star caliber players in some instances. And you just never know who's actually going to have cap space after they either take on those deals or they facilitate those deals after the deadline, for example, in terms of like the teams that you'd be competing with. And then if Payton Watson plays well enough this year that another team wants to throw big money at them, Denver can always match, right? Because they don't want to, lose him for the upside. But that's the thing with restricted free agency, is like you don't really get a choice. If your team is willing to match what another team offers you. So that I think is gonna maybe it'll be a little bit more competitive for restricted free agents next summer than it was this last one. The other thing I want to point out on that particular case is Payton Watson is in his fourth year. This isn't a situation where, even if he got traded at the deadline, where the team that he gets traded to would have a full season to like have him and evaluate how he fits and like what his upside like could be heading into restricted free agency. So I don't know how valuable of an asset he is on like the last couple months of his rookie deal. Obviously, if he plays well enough, it could be, because then they have his bird rights, his restricted free agency rights this summer, and a team can just kind of take a swing on that. But I think once you hit that summer, you're talking about once he's in free agency, other teams trying to figure out like how much do you want to pay this guy potentially on a long-term deal. So I think young players should sign longer-term deals, not like 5 years necessarily, which is my issue with the Christian Brown contract, but small quibble. Because you want to get that guaranteed money, and that's why I think Jonathan Kuminga's people pretty like very much failed him by not getting him one more guaranteed year on that deal. But teams generally over the last 3 or 4 years have not been willing to give long-term contracts to guys that were not already on their team. And sometimes you have like bad deals like that like seemed okay at the time, like Malik Monk getting 4 years from the Sacramento Kings. But in terms of the big role players that change teams in free agency, they will get usually a maximum of 3 years. There have been very few examples, and they've been like Paul George, Caleb Martin getting 4 years from Philly. And I was like, that seemed weird at the time. Like Philly was in a weird spot because they didn't have any other, like they had to get free agents. So because they didn't have assets that they were willing to trade, whole thing. But those are like proven role players, or at least with Paul George, you could have like talked yourself into his upside because of the season that he had just had and all that stuff. But usually you're looking at like Bruce Browns and KCPs where it's like a 1+1 or a 2+1, not a 4-year plus deal. And usually KCP gets a player option. Bruce got a team option because it's like, you're going to be trade bait. And those were also, again, proven veterans. So maybe like Peyton plays well enough this season to get himself into that echelon, but he's still an unknown quantity. And so I'm playing chicken in these negotiations if I'm the team, because you have the leverage. Like worst case scenario, he plays so well that another team wants to offer him 4 years at $30 million per. But you look at like even Tyson Daniels didn't get that. Yeah. You know?
Yeah, and I agree with playing chicken. I honestly hope the Nuggets would play chicken with Christian as well, which is a mean thing for me to say. But, you know, during this season, one of these two guys is going to have an awesome season and the other guy probably not as much. So maybe that's the natural way of getting them, fair extensions. And now the Nuggets just gave an extension to Christian, who had all the time to play next to Joker last season and prove his value. And by the way, he did prove it. I'm not saying he did not, but it's just Peyton did not get the same
now he's probably going to get the opportunity.
Yeah, possibly. We will see. We will see what the angle is going to be when Cam Johnson returns.
I will say, like, the contract situation may color that. Like, if I'm Peyton, like, I would definitely feel some type of way if Christian's out for 6 weeks and they're starting Tim over me, especially given that situation. And I think that would very much sour the relationship. But that's probably the best example of, contract dynamics immediately playing a role into, the team dynamic there.
And it is possible that the mere fact that he already signed with Klutch means that he already knows he's not going to start, in Christian's place. But who knows? We'll have to just wait and see what happens there. Okay, let's take another short break. And after that, we're going to have some fun, hopefully, in the next 2 segments. Don't go anywhere. Okay, so let's talk about the All-Star game format for a moment. It's dumber than what I expected. Even though it will be 2 teams with the USA players and 1 team with the rest of the world players, the NBA is still forcing us to watch 12 guys from the Eastern Conference. And furthermore, there are going to be no position limitations, so we might get a team made out of 8 big guys. It was also mentioned that if there aren't enough international players voted in who are from the rest of the world, they might dispatch some American players with ties to other countries to the international team. So this reads Karl Anthony Towns, Paolo Banchero, Joel Embiid. I'm cackling a bit. Okay, so just kidding about Embiid. Sorry for me being mean. On top of all this nonsense, if there weren't 8 international or 16 American players selected among the 24. The idea man, Adam Silver, would add player or players to get the minimum on both teams or both pools. So theoretically, there could be 30 All-Stars, even though that is highly unlikely. The only reason I'm bothering myself with all these inventive new rules is to try and figure out how probable is it for Jamal Murray to finally get the nod and appear on the All-Star Weekend's main event. So let's see who the most prominent international names are and if we can get to 8 before getting to 16 American guys. So for me, in the West, guys who are locks are Jokić, Luka, Shea, Wemby, and Şengün. And in the East, it's just Giannis and maybe Giddey. Not sure about Giddey.
Oh, Giddey.
He's having a great season.
I totally forgot about him.
He has a great season in Chicago, and Chicago is kind of tapering off. They're not as hot as they were at the beginning of the season, but we have to see that. And then you have guys in the East like Franz Wagner, like Pascal Siakam, like Nikola Vucevic. And then in the West, you have guys like Lauri Markkanen, Sabonis, Danny Avdija, and Zubac. Now, Danny Avdija, he's having a good season. Portland is playing pretty well. Sabonis, he is on a hopeless Sacramento team. They might not get an All-Star this time around. Same thing for Markkanen in Utah. And the Clippers are not playing well for Zubac to get in as well. So Jamal needs to get around two hurdles here. He needs to be among the top 8 international guys, but he also needs to be among the top 12 Western Conference guys, unless there are no 8 guys selected between the two teams. So what are your thoughts here? I mentioned here that probably LeBron is going to be there.
Yeah, because he always gets there. I had not considered the East-West dynamic of this in preparation for the show because I'm still not I know they're going to be the teams are like East versus West, right?
It's just the initial pickup, and then they're just going to move the players to their different teams.
Gotcha. Okay. So I was mostly considering the international pool of players here. And to me, it hinges on a couple of questions. Basically, how good are these teams going to be? The Pacers for Pascal. The Blazers, I think, are the biggest one because I think Jamal has a pretty strong case in the West if the Nuggets continue on their pace. Even if Jamal kind of stayed on his current, steady drip of 22-6, whatever. But the Blazers have are they going to stay a 500 team plus enough that Denny Avdija gets all-star votes? Because there are just too many international locks across both conferences, right? I was making my list before the show, and then I was like, oh shoot, I forgot about Şengün too, right? So you end up in a situation where the real competition, the realistic competition that
Şengün should actually be a lock in the West. Actually, I did not put him here.
He's there in your locks. He's the
he is. Oh,
there.
sorry,
he
is. Oh, yeah.
Are Denny Avdija, and Lauri Markkanen, and that's are the Jazz going to be a play-in team enough that Lauri gets another All-Star? Not it, because it's tough to deny it when he's averaging 29 points per game right now. And Franz Wagner, which I don't know how the whole if Silver's pulling guys to be on an international team, I don't know that the East West will matter as much. And the reason those are all 3 of those players are averaging a very similar number of points per game right now. Yeah. Denny is currently ahead of everybody. And so I think the performance of the Portland Trailblazers this season is going to determine whether or not Jamal potentially gets an All-Star nod. The other, aspect of this that could help propel him is obviously like a really strong, fan voter push. But I just don't know what that could look like. But in terms of points per game, just to like put it in context here, Jamal is, he's currently averaging 22.1, cooled off after a really hot October, yep. Right? Basically ever since the calf tightness started up, and he hasn't been quite as efficient the last few games, even though he's moving better. And then, 6.3 assists per game. That's tied for 23rd, actually, with Jalen Brunson. So that's also going to help, but maybe that's a stat that people are also looking at for Josh Giddey. So my thought is, like, he's battling with a lot of mid. So if he has another, if he has a December that looked like his October, I think he makes it. But short of that, it's like, I don't know, because it's so, because I think if he has another stretch like that, Denver is like, winning everything. And the case for like Denver has to get 2 All-Stars gets a lot stronger. And it also means that he's, averaging closer to like 25 points per game and puts him in like a different echelon of like conversation than even like a player that's averaging 26 on a substantially worse team.
Yeah, the problem here is he has to be voted among the 12 Western guys to get in.
Gotcha.
And if he's not, then he might be added in.
Right.
If there are not enough international players among the 24 guys selected. But here's the problem. If they don't have enough international guys, they could just say, okay, people picked Cat, we're just going to call him Dominican now. People picked Bam Adebayo, we're going to call him Nigerian now, or Banchero with Italy. So that's the reality. That's the call. And problem in the West is there are so many guys in the West. Like, look at this list I put here.
The thing that helps Jamal's case is this positionless thing, because before it was like, there's just no chance with these guards.
True.
Right now, there are a lot of like very strong forwards, but I honestly don't think like this season that like Sabonis is like a huge threat. No, because the Kings have been so bad and they're like not even playing through him as much, et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah, and he's not good as well.
Well, yeah.
But I digress.
It's been a rough season. Harden, it's weird because like if he has to be in the top 12 in the West, then that makes it a lot more difficult. So how many locks do you have in the West here? That's 8.
So I have 8 locks.
8 locks.
So
put
Jokic,
LeBron
Luka,
in there
Shea.
too. He's gonna make the game.
Yeah, that's 9.
Booker,
9 with LeBron.
I think that Jamal makes it over Booker. If the Suns cool down even a little bit, which I expect to happen once their schedule like becomes a little bit harder.
What about Chet?
So he didn't make it last year, and I thought he was putting up the points.
The Thunder are gonna get the second All-Star for sure.
Right.
So it's either Chet or Jalen Williams, who hasn't even played yet.
Well, ideally, J-Dub comes back and those two cannibalize each other.
Now we're cooking with gas.
This is how my brain thinks, right? Like every ancillary thing that could possibly help a core agenda is, on the menu. I think if J-Dub comes back, he'll have a stronger case than Chet, to be honest, because he'll just have the points. Yeah, I think it's tough. Honestly, I don't know that Chet would, like, I don't think that Chet would have a better All-Star case than Jamal, even as Jamal's playing right now, just because I think, like, yeah, like, Chet's really important to that team, but also, like, they're like plus 20 regardless of who's on the floor.
Yeah, I know.
But it's not. This is an MVP. It's All-Star, so they're like, we gotta give the Thunder a second All-Star thing. I think the Nuggets just need to continue on this hot winning pace, and then like try to make the best case possible for a second All-Star. I'd take Kawhi off of this because he's got the foot sprain, and like he would have to have a really like a red hot mid-December to mid-January, assuming he comes back by then. To make that case. So I would put Jamal in terms of like where he falls on this list. I'd probably put him ahead of everybody except Markkanen, and Avdia for the reasons that I stated. Like, people are looking at points per game, and like if the Blazers are good enough or if the Jazz are like good enough, which I don't think currently they are, but they're not as bad as they were last year, so it's like within the realm of within the realm of like conceivable outcomes that they get to like 500 and Lowry gets the nod. And those are like, I would put Jamal ahead of those guys, and then Harden if we're looking at the West. Not ahead of them, but like only behind those guys, or like in competition with those guys.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's gonna be tough as always. So Jamal, just think about it. Average 25 at the end of December, and we might finally get you.
Start making your threes again. That's the main thing. Like, he was inefficient in the paint, particularly in that like first half, but he kept driving. In this last game against the Wolves, and I thought 12 assists. That was like, whoa, didn't expect that. Although I remembered some really good passes.
I don't know if we can
the
trust the box score from last night. I don't know.
That's true. I need to see, once they upload the actual clips, like you need to show me where these 12 assists came from.
Exactly. Like, we need synergy for that.
What was I going to say? But yeah, Jamal. Like, I think he can make it, but it's going to be tight unless he ups the level. Even if he ups the level that he's at right now, to be honest. The East-West dynamic does complicate things, because it's like, do I really based on how Paolo has played right now, should he be an all-star over Jamal? No, but we're looking at East-West. Yeah.
Dan had the comment, I didn't have Jamal on the possible list. Jamal is in the middle of the
because we're trying to figure out where to put him.
We're trying to put him somewhere. So that's the idea here. And I really like this other comment here, and that is, maybe Jokić haters would vote Jamal just to say that Jokić had all-star
That's the campaign to start, actually.
Exactly.
That is the campaign to start.
We need help from OKC. Yeah, OKC needs to help us get Jamal.
I don't think that the OKC people probably recruit the Bucks fans and Luka fans. Who else has like a possible like fringe MVP case?
Wemby.
Well, yeah. I think he's probably on the outside looking in now that everybody was like, that Mavs game where you were dominant doesn't mean as much now that the Mavs are like, we see that they're just sad.
So many agendas clashing. It's pretty crazy. Okay, let's take our last break. And after that, we're going to do something I promised to people we're going to do today. So don't go anywhere. Okay, Grace. So I'm starting a new segment for this season. And I will request this ranking from every guest until the end of the season, and I will publish it in a similar manner to Andy Bailey's player ranking, which is based on the average ranking of every player in 10 advanced metrics. I will make a Nuggets Real 9 Guys ranking based on the average of their rankings on this show. So it will be a different person ranking them each week with a different personally chosen criteria, so it should be fun. Because I didn't tell you when I mentioned I want you to rank the 9 real guys, I didn't tell you if you should rank them by impact, by production, by vibes, or meeting the preseason expectations, or anything like that. So I'm really interested to see which path you've chosen. And lastly, we are only ranking the top 9, even with Christian injured for a longer while, because I don't feel Julian, Spencer, Pickett, or anybody else at the end of their bench will be impactful enough to really compete for this list. So I just don't want to mention Hunter Tyson being number 17 every week. That's basically it. I just don't want to.
Oh man, he's really
on the guy.
Yeah. We have a couple of players that have been lapped by a two-way guy.
Yeah, exactly.
Very quickly.
So out of the top 9 real guys, who would you have right now at number 9?
Ooh, how do I want to do this? I think I'm going to go with being above preseason expectations. And that's going to be Nikola Jokić, number 1.
Your choice. Nikola Jokić, number 9. Okay.
Yeah.
No problem. No problem.
Jamal Murray.
Number 8, Jamal.
Oh, we're going from 9 to.
Yeah. I wanted to go from 9.
Oh, okay. Sorry.
Just to keep it like.
Can I start over then? I guess number
okay.
9 would be Spencer Jones because he's just in the rotation now. And
okay,
want
let's
him to
do
play
that.
over.
Let's do it with Spencer. Yes. Okay.
Yeah.
Spencer.
All right, then I'm gonna go with Bruce. Like, honestly, Bruce could have been 9 after this week. I don't think he was particularly good in the Wolves game on either end of the floor. It was more like, let's limit Julius' minutes as much as possible.
He was getting blocked left and right.
Yeah, I was like, Bruce, we just stop. Just stop trying. And then on defense, it was like he was fine, but not like he was still getting scored on. But he got some deflections and things like that. So he's going to be next. Okay. Ooh, this is tough. I'm going to go with Val.
Okay.
But I think he's going to move up in this as the season goes on because he's just been so steady as a big body who screens and gets putbacks, exactly. Even if nothing else is going on, just a steady drip of that. Okay, then I'm going to go with, we're including the injured guys now. I'm going to go with Christian Braun here.
Okay, but if you include Christian and you had Spencer, now we are talking about 10 guys. Oh.
Are we?
Oh, maybe not. If you don't want to include Cam Johnson at all. Spencer is the 10th guy.
5, Bruce, Tim, Val, Spencer. That's 9. The starting
and
5
Payton,
plus.
And Peyton.
Oh, he's off the bench now, or he's starting now. Oh, that's a good point. You know what? Let's put Peyton in Bruce's spot and leave Bruce off. Because he's been like so up and down. At least Spencer is like, he's bringing you defense every single game. Bruce has been like someone that limits Julian's minutes, which is maybe one of the most important jobs on the team.
Oh, wow. You're really low on Bruce's impact so far. Okay.
Yeah. Too volatile. Okay. Yeah. Okay.
Now we have
we'll
Spencer, Peyton, Val.
Yes. And then Tim.
Okay.
Or no, I'm going to put Christian. Sorry, Christian there.
Christian, okay.
Yes. And then Tim.
Okay, Tim at 5.
And then Cam, because I think that despite not making anything, like the passing has been good. The defense has been a lot better since the first couple of games. And we're winning his minutes. That's like all I care about. How many are left? What number are we at?
We have 3 more guys.
3 more guys. Yeah. So we're gonna go with AG.
AG at the 3.
And then Jamal, and then Nikola Jokić.
Yeah, I wanted to do this in reverse order, so there would be some sort of suspense at the end. But I guess it's pretty clear: AG, Jamal, Joker. Some would say AG has had quietly, possibly the second best season so far.
I think a lot of people forget like the games he had between opening night and like game 8.
and also he's not averaging 6 assists like Jamal is.
Yeah.
So it's not just points and
by the way, man, it's so great when he's on the floor, especially in those bench minutes. Like I love those bench stints with AG and Val. He just seems to he's just cooking, and then they're getting defensive rebounds. It's beautiful.
It is true. Okay, so basically what you're saying to us, you just want the starting 5 of Joker, Jamal, AG, Cam, and Tim Hardaway.
No, we need Tim's impact off the bench, but Christian has just not had a good season to me, outside of like limiting mistakes. So I'm gonna go with Tim there because he's just been like a great spark. He's making his shots, That's all he's asked to do. But he's also like, I think the passing has really popped. Like he's surpassed my expectations. A couple things that have surprised me. His on-ball defense a lot better than I expected. And I wasn't super low on his on-ball defense. It's the off-ball stuff that concerns me, like, as the season goes on, but he's been pretty good so far. But the on-ball stuff has actually been pretty good, especially within our scheme. He has a no-dip 3, which is like, what? Yeah. The passing has been a lot better than I thought, and not just in like transition situations, but he's really good at finding Jokić, trailing and that kind of thing. But he's run some pick and roll with Jokić in the half court too, and I think he's been able to score in those situations. He's been able to pass in those situations, and that was like a very pleasant surprise. So, in terms of like exceeding preseason expectations, I mean, honestly, I could have put Christian behind Val, but I think that the DHO stuff and like some of the passing has flashed, so I'm gonna give him some credit for that and kind of hope that the floor comes back in terms of like the shooting and like the defense,
And it's going to be hard for Val to go much higher on this list if he keeps playing 12 minutes per game. It's not going to.
It feels like longer because there's such like nice minutes. I'm surprised every time I hear the stat. But like he had that quote from practice where he's like, "Yeah, you go out there, you die on the floor. That's what you're supposed to do."
His minutes are definitely loud and yeah.
In like the good ways.
Like, absolutely.
Yeah.
Very, very loud and very enjoyable. Okay, Grace, tell us about the plans for your show.
We've got a show this Thursday, probably either Wednesday or Thursday. I think Thursday because of the Nuggets schedule. And we'll be breaking down games. I think I'm going to be talking a lot more about the defense this week, which requires more film work than offense. But I will be working on that. So definitely tune in for that because I was really impressed with the defense this game, not just Peyton, but like the team overall. I think it's real. I don't know that we're number 2, but I wouldn't call it crazy to think that they would finish top 5. I think they're more of like a top 8 defense, but I don't think I would be surprised at this point, assuming they stay relatively healthy, like even with these absences, if they finished outside the top 10. So I'm looking forward to talk about the defense. Our channel is What's in a Game NBA on YouTube, and you can find us at What's in a Game NBA on like all the socials. So look for us, look for me on Twitter as well.
Yes, and both audio and video versions of the show are great. So you can go to the podcast machine as well because the show sounds wonderful as well. Okay, that is all I've prepared for you, my dear listener. And please, with cherry on top, please take the word prepared very loosely. I basically just let Grace cook and enjoy at my seat here. Be well, be safe, be kind to everybody. Call your mom. And until next week, remember that my plan is to be Nuggets forever.